Welcome to Breaking Ground. I'm your host, Devin Kolka. On this show, we're going to be meeting with industry leaders in the construction, real estate, and design industries. Today's guest, Richard Humann, is the president and CEO of H2M Architecture and Design. Richard started his young career as an intern working for H2M and has worked his way up through the ranks and is now the president and CEO. I'm really excited to have him on as a guest. Here comes the show.
Yeah.
Rich Humann, thank you. First ever Breaking Ground with Devin Kolka. Really special to have you here, and thank you for that. So, looking over your biography a little bit, you've been with H2M since beginning of your career for the most part,
Yeah,
right?
1987, when I was interning, I was a college intern, and I started interning at H2M, and 32 years later, here I am, CEO. I'm thrilled. And I'm thrilled to be here. I really want to thank you for thinking of me, and especially on your inaugural launching of Breaking Ground, which is awesome. So I'm really happy to be here.
No, thank you. Yeah. President and CEO of H2M, through the ranks, started intern. Tell me a little bit about, where you went to get to where you are today.
Interned for 3 years while I was going to college. Hopefully I did a good job. Started working in the water resource group at H2M, and water resources has always been a staple of the company since 1933. We still have one of our original clients from 1935 is still a client today, and I've worked on a number of projects for them. But, just staff engineer, project manager, start to deal with clients, and a pretty prototypical advancement in a career. And probably 20 years in, that's when I think I started to have some sights on maybe moving more into a corporate leadership position. I was really fortunate as I was growing in my career to have two really great mentors. Dennis Keller was a great mentor of mine, and he was my supervisor for like 20 years. And then John Malloy, who was our former CEO, I think identified me like 3 years prior to him retiring, thinking that I'd be a nice next choice. I'm the fourth CEO in an 87-year-old company, so there's only been 3 prior CEOs. So I'm thrilled and proud and love what I do.
So tell me a little bit more about H2M. I think 9 offices, 400 plus employees.
Yeah, did your homework, Devin? Yeah, so I would consider us kind of New York Metro. Our project reaches probably northeastern United States, but we've got 2 offices in Melville and 1 in Riverhead, so we have 3 offices on Long Island. We have a New York City office, we have a Westchester and a Rockland County office. We've got an office in Albany, and we have 2 offices in New Jersey. We are actually now up to like 480 employees, and knock on wood, 2020, I'm hoping to crack the 500 employee mark. 7 years ago, we had a little more than 200 employees, so we've more than doubled since I've been in my current position. But we were talking about it, off camera. Being able to surround yourself with really good people gives you the ability to grow and to have your sights set on other things. And I think at H2M, I'm fortunate to have a really strong team with me, and allows me to kind of do more and think more and new ways to grow. And so it's things are they've been good. They continue, I think to be good. And my overarching strategy when it comes to growth, and I tell our employees all the time, is that when we're growing as a company, that provides opportunities for you. Companies that are status quo and are flat don't provide the same level of opportunity for employees. And but that doesn't mean that we're going to hand things to you. Our obligation is to present you with opportunities. Your obligation is to take the opportunities and to seize the opportunities. So it's really worked well for us.
So you're at the top position in your company, company's top of the industry in the region. What drives you when you wake up in the morning? You know, you're still working long hours, long days. What's the motivator?
Yeah, well, to me, one of the reasons why I've spent my entire career at H2M is a lot of stuff comes from your upbringing. And, my grandfather had one job his whole career, and my father had one job for his whole career. And when you're used to being a part of a team, even though you could be in a position where you're leading the team, if you still view yourself as being part of the team is always trying to improve. The team is always trying to be better, to provide successes for everybody else on the team. And that's a daily motivator for me. I've got a routine. I get up, I check my calendar. What meetings do I have? What prep do I have to do? I'm usually on my laptop at 6 a.m. and getting a lot of stuff done that you can't get done when you get into the office because you've got lots of demands on you and you get pulled in different directions. But I want to see our employees successful. I want to see the company successful. I want to see us continue to make a difference. I think the types of projects that we work on are, they go into protecting public health, they go into protecting public safety, they go into the growth of our communities. So I think there's always going to be that kind of self-reward when you're leading a company that is constantly making a difference in the community. So, to me, that's clearly a daily driver. In turn, like if you could be successful personally out of that, I look at personal success as being an outcropping of the company's success. It's got to be the success of the team first, and then my own success after that.
So with over 400 employees, I've been to the office. It's a gorgeous office, a lot of collaboration, a lot of people working together. Seems like the culture is great. How do you instill your company's core values and a culture that people are attracted to amongst everybody?
Yeah. I drive home the fact that our core values are in, for purpose of being on a website, our core values need to establish our behavior. If you want to be happy in what you do, and you're always working as part of a team, I think understanding the behaviors of everybody on the team and knowing what to expect from people when you're on a team is critical. And I'm sure there are places where employees can walk in the door and, geez, I hope I don't see that person today, or I don't even want to go to this meeting today because I don't like dealing with this person. I don't think you can ever completely avoid that. But if you're looking to consistently drive a culture in an organization that promotes good behavior, you're going to be in a better position to be able to satisfy people and have them want to be a part of that. I hold, you were talking before, and we've grown a lot. I hold a quarterly new employee luncheon, and on average over the last 3 years, we probably hired anywhere between 15 and 20 people a quarter. And I get to talk to them about our core values. And I talk to them about core values and what they mean to me. And they can mean something different to you or something different to whoever's going to interpret core values. But I think it's important that employees understand, from my perspective, what do they mean, why are they so important, why is behavior so important. And at the end, they all come down to you want to treat people the way you want to be treated. And, you can lose sight of that in business. And if your priorities change, or you're not about your employees and making sure that you're creating the right kind of environment for your employees to be happy and to be successful, then you do start to lose what really kind of defines who you are as an organization. So I'm really proud of that. And I think that's one of the reasons why H2M has been able to really thrive over these last 7 or 8 years, because we are really conscious of putting the right kind of environment in place so that people can be happy in what they do and they can be successful.
That's great. You guys are definitely attracting great talent. A lot of the workforce continues to move off island. Younger people are finding it difficult to live here. There's a high cost of living on Long Island, and a lot of that has to do with real estate. where do you see business going the next few years? Where do you see the real estate market going the next few years? And I guess the third part of the question is, how do we attract those young people that should stay in the community and be a part of the community?
Yeah, I think it's our biggest challenge as a region. I think that, frankly, we're late. We're behind the eight ball in terms of not putting the right provisions in place on Long Island to, keep our people. So, I think, but at the same time, there's such a clear recognition of the need for us to have to change as a region, change philosophically, transform ourselves, look to provide more opportunities, more living opportunities, different types of living opportunities. Long Island has always been, if you want to be successful here, go find a single-family home and have a white picket fence, and those are all important things. I have a single-family home, and I love it. It's great, but I think you have a generation of workforce that is not as interested. Broadly speaking, you're always going to have individual people that are motivated by different things, but I think broadly speaking, they're not looking to be, really anchored. They're not looking to maybe be tied down now. They want to have the flexibility. They want to be more mobile. So they're looking for opportunities to be more mobile. I see that with, a whole swath of probably, under 30 staff that I have. Maybe a quarter of our workforce at H2M is a mid to high 30 age. And we're trying to do things that we can as an organization to help them understand where the places that they could live and how do we go about talking to people and getting ourselves to be influencers. Continuing revitalization downtowns, Patchogue, Farmingdale, Ronkonkoma, and even what we're doing in like small places, Huntington and Babylon, I think are all great. We need to continue to do that. But if we don't address the cost of living as well, I think that's going to continue to be a challenge.
We have a couple multifamily projects coming up around train stations,
Yeah.
and that's like a hot thing right now. Do you see that continuing? Because a few years ago, or maybe more than a few years ago, but nobody wanted to be near the train station.
Yeah.
And now you have these properties that the property owners are getting millions for. Is that transit-oriented development going to feed into keeping the young population here?
Absolutely. I think it's great that the fact that we finally committed to this and recognize that we have to do it. And I'm thrilled that you're involved in it because I think we need more people committing to redevelop a lot of these downtowns. And you hit it on the head. I think for the most part, they weren't desirable, so people didn't want to live near train stations. So it's not as though you're looking at opportunities to take vacant land and develop it. You really need to strategically repurpose what have been, in some cases, either, forgotten about industries or forgotten about land opportunities. So more and more of that is happening on Long Island. I think that's a critical piece of it. With that, it still has to be affordable. So giving our young professionals a chance to be mobile, I think is important. There are a lot of them that even, staff that work for me that don't want to own a car. Their friends, they live in Brooklyn. Even the ones that work in Melville, they work in Brooklyn. They take the train to Farmingdale's. One of their friends goes down and picks them up at Farmingdale train station, or they Uber up to the office, and they're good with that. I don't know. We live in our car. God forbid you're on Long Island, don't have a car. But I think that our commitment to the transit oriented developments are going to continue to be really important.
Talk to me about some of the proudest projects you've done in your career, and if you can share with what's coming up for H2M. What are you guys working on?
Yeah. So my career personally, I said earlier that my technical career has been in water resources, and I had a specialty in designing treatment systems to clean drinking water. And even though you often don't know exactly what you want to do when you're young, when you're working on projects that provide that kind of a community benefit where you're cleaning drinking water for people, that's really rewarding. And I've designed some first in New York State type of treatment systems where I had a client that had a certain water quality problem, and there was no treatment system in existence to deal with it. So, I've traveled to Canada. I've traveled across the country to evaluate treatment systems that are used regionally, and then would come back with the information, meet with the client. Always collaborating with the clients. Engineers need to make sure that they understand that the clients are also really smart and that they know what they want. And when you have those kind of clients, I think that makes for great projects. So I've had a number of treatment systems I've designed in my career that I'm really proud of. I've probably designed maybe 25 or so treatment systems. We've also, as a company, a job that we're just wrapping up right now, which I'm extremely proud of. Post Sandy, you had an electric grid on Long Island that was devastated, and people that were out of power for 2-3 weeks. To me, one of the biggest recovery steps that we had was when the federal government committed $60 billion to Sandy recovery. $1 billion of that was going to go to LIPA in order to fortify and harden the electric system. And I think New York State made a great decision in bringing in PSEG from New Jersey and creating PSEG Long Island. I don't think LIPA would have had the ability to go ahead and implement this kind of an infrastructure project. So, H2M had the opportunity to become the program manager for that project. So we weren't the designer, but we worked closely with PSEG to help them implement the overall program. So it's probably going to be done this year. It's been about a 5-year program, and I'm going to say they replaced 1,400 miles of transmission and distribution lines, raised substations, just a project that to me is going to put Long Island in a position where when the next Sandy hits, at least our electric system is going to be prepared, which is great.
Since we're on the topic of utilities, we're coming out of a gas moratorium, and it's a possibility that this can become an issue again in the future. What do we do about the need for right now natural gas, but in the future eco-friendly sources of energy?
Yeah. This is such a hot button topic, clearly. Green New Deal and carbon footprint, and I don't think there's anybody that would say clean energy is not a good thing or energy alternatives isn't a good thing. To me, it needs to get beyond the talking point. Right now, it's like political talking point. If you look at any kind of a mass balance, if we have certain energy needs, and you can define, as a region, as a country, as a community, what your energy needs are, and they're satisfied by oil or they're satisfied by natural gas, and you want to introduce wind, and you want to introduce solar, and you want to introduce battery storage and other clean energy alternatives, cleaner. You can't just say eliminate this by this date and have everything be this. It doesn't work that way.
Agreed.
There's got to be a strategic plan that either has to originate federally or at the state level or at the county level, the town level. Some level of government needs to put together a plan that's going to clearly recognize, here's our energy demand, how it's satisfied, how do we see it transitioning. In the foreseeable future is never going to be absent oil and absent natural gas, because the capacity on this eco-friendly energy side doesn't exist right now. So, yeah, it's kind of Pollyanna to think that we're going to be able to in 10 years have zero reliance on oil and natural gas. It's not going to happen. So I would, and I bet you those conversations I'm sure are happening. they don't make for headlines.
Need to be happening if they're not.
Yeah, so I think that the need is clearly there, and I think the right kind of political will and the right kind of leadership needs to kind of have at arm's length. We're not going to sensationalize this whole topic of energy. We're going to go ahead and develop a strategy that's going to allow us to kind of appropriately transition and find a better balance in where our source of energy comes from.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up with a couple phrases. I'll throw
right.
them out. You tell me the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay, be gentle with me.
Long Island.
I love it.
Culture.
Critical aspect if you want to have a successful organization.
Real estate.
A great market.
Architecture and engineering.
A continuing, challenging profession, but really a critical element of what makes our community strong.
Rich, thank you so much for being here. Those are great answers. We got a lot coming up on Colca Interactive, and I'm honored that you're taking part in this, and I thank you very much.
My pleasure. It was great. I had a great time. Good luck.
Thank you.
All the best. You're welcome.